Hello. Hello, mic check, mic check. Hello. How are you doing, guys? Hello, Blade Runner, the winner of last time around. We meet again. Hello, DL. Well, Horizen is on sale right now, so you know, you can always pick it up, or stay tuned and you might win one. So, although we're not going to give anything away today, but we do have another giveaway stream coming up, so you never know. You could be lucky. So, hopefully everyone's doing really well today. Are we making ups today? I don't know really. We'll see how we get on. I want to try and... Sorry, I'm going to stop playing now. So I've been playing my own theme song for like the last 5 minutes straight, just while I set up the stream. So I want to try and keep these videos to a kind of smaller section so that people can always look in at what they kind of want to see. So I will kick off this video strong. And basically report what we've had. Obviously the feedback has been amazing from the community and so on and so forth, so it's been really good. So obviously this is for people that want to swing around here live, obviously, and also for people that want to watch back, which I think is a good thing. So although I do like the interaction on stream and people ask questions, and I can certainly do that, so certainly when there's less people. Obviously, last time we did this, there was 50 odd people in the chat all talking at once, and it's very difficult to kind of fully get to the questions answered, you know. So I'm here today to answer a big selection of questions that came into last stream that people wanted to know about. So I wrote them down and I will say them, and then we'll go through them, you know, bit by bit, so to speak. Question from DL: 100 music art sequences to use in the Vista will keep people happy with the purchase for a long time if there are also a lot of presets to go along with it. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of presets for ARPs and things like that already, and we do have an ARP player, and we've got lots of different ARP features and things like that. Who knows? Let's see how today goes, but I mean, we've already got a lot of stuff in the synth already that uses ARPs, so ARPs are good fun, so why not? So, but today is primarily about sound design and how people make sounds. That's been the biggest question that we've had. So to start off this video, for those that are kind of watching back now, I'm going to say their names so that the person who's watching back will understand that it's them that I'm addressing their concerns. Now, these are the ones I've just pulled out from last week's chat when I got the transcription across sent to me from YouTube. So I'm just going to rattle off the questions and then we'll kind of answer them all in one big session. So that, I think, is probably the best way to do it. So there was apologies if I get these names wrong, but there was a question from someone called Creighton who says, how to make personal samples musical in Horizen. Now, I'm assuming they're talking about the loop player, which obviously I will get to. So I will certainly answer your question, Creighton, no problem. Someone called Leaf Blower, awesome name, by the way. Can you show us how to make use of the loop players and the things it can do? Again, another loop player question right there. So, so that kind of kills two birds with one stone. It's not a problem. Someone called Angelo who says, can you show us how to make presets for atmospheric style? Which certainly I can do, and I can incorporate the loop players into that. And so I'll try and cover all things all at once, so to answer everyone's question. Peter Wicks says, can you advise how to make drones by using own samples or the samples provided? The presets in Horizen are deep and powerful, but mine are always flat and lifeless. Why? So, okay, I will obviously help you with that one too. Sandy454 says, how do you pitch a user sample to work with Horizen? So I'm assuming that they're talking about pitch of the actual original sample, which I can also go through. someone called Mitch Rowland. Can you demonstrate how to use the loop player working with the sample players? Certainly. Okay, so I certainly can do that. So basically, it seems like a lot of people, we've had lots more of that as well, but these are the important ones that I've kind of pulled out. So it seems like that people are getting slightly confused, or not confused. Confused is a strong word. They would like to know about how to incorporate different elements within Horizen. And I understand that it can be quite overwhelming when you're looking at such a big synth such as this on the screen, and it's like, okay, what do I do? There's so many knobs, so many different layers, you know, what do I do? What do I do? And sometimes that can be overwhelming, but hopefully if I show you the steps, it actually is a lot easier than you'd kind of think, and also very musical along the way, and you can create so much cool stuff, I'd say, with minimum effort. So, I mean, naturally it depends on the samples that you're using. If you're using something that sounds terrible, then I wouldn't expect it to sound terrible when you're creating a preset. It's 101 sound design. So you have to be prepared to fail, but also be prepared to be very surprised. So it is what it is. So in this video, we'll cover making, you know, I don't know, like Angelino says, we'll do an atmospheric sort of thing. That we can also cover drones as well, because that was another question. So let's just start off by doing that. So we're just going to create, or not create, we're going to load the init preset, which is our default sound. So it's just you know, a blank canvas, so to speak, and all we get on the keyboard is a lovely saw wave sound, which is very exciting. So yeah, so that's nothing to be excited about. All right, so let's just knock this off on the head right away. Okay, now, because people seem to be talking about the loop players, let's go there first. So with the loop players, it can either be user sample, in other words, you can drag your own sample to this window right here, or you can also use the browser that we have inside of Horizen that has got everything that we provided for you. So that is, if you own the expansions, you get all the expansion new samples as well as all the stock ones, and they're all listed here. And I'm telling you now, there are some weird and wonderful things in here. Some really unexpected things, and some crazy things, and some normal things, and some old style Echo sample things that I managed to collect over the years. And so there's a lot of stuff on here that is for a variety of different styles and genres. So obviously feel free just to basically make use of them and just be creative as much as you can, is what I say. But they're there to give you a head start if you don't own your own sample libraries. But today, because the focus is on user samples, so we're not going to use the ones inbound currently. So what we're going to do is just find something completely random and see what we can do with it. So so I've just got load of Foley sounds from traffic to room sounds, you know, whatever really. Just noises, you know, a lawnmower, for goodness sake. You know what? Just for giggles, let's use the lawnmower. Just why not, right? It's a lawnmower. What can go wrong, right? So there we go. All I do is drag over the lawnmower. And one cool thing actually while I'm here, and I'm going to be organized with this, is I also want to show you something that I didn't show you last time. And that's right now, loop 1 is our lawnmower sound. And as you can hear, when I press a key, there's the lawnmower stroke F1 sound. Yep. So there's that. But that might get confusing and you might get lost where things are. So see where it says loop 1 up here. So if you just double click that, now I'm going to type in lawnmower. There we go. You can rename every sound, and then up here it's got it written up here as well, so you know what sound it is. You know, for this sake, I'm just going to type it LM because then I know what it is. I always like to abbreviate names, so it's just how I work. So now I've got a lovely LM up here in my loop browser, so I know that that is my sample. You know, how do I, so I'm reading chat now. So Blade Runner, no worries, you will get it soon, so don't worry about that. You know, how do you make it sound different from the other soft synth sounds from other VSTs? How do you make it sound like a commercially produced record? Well, Dill, hopefully stick around and you'll find out. You know, I'm not ever going to say that how we differ from everyone else, because if you think about it, every synth out there is pretty much the same thing. They're all oscillator based or they're sample based. The only difference is the way that it works. And in point I'm trying to make here is I might go a different direction to create a sound than someone else. Now, someone else might want a different path to get to point B, as where I will choose a different path to get to point B, and Horizen is our path between myself and Lyndon and what we've created, and so this is our journey. So that's realistically the only difference. It's the same with anything, any software that's always the same. It kind of does the same thing, it just does things in a different way, you know. So I certainly would not want to sit here and you know, give you reasons, because I wouldn't be able to tell you that, you know, not without knowing what was in their mind when they created it from the get-go. It's just ours is very powerful because not a lot of synths can do what we can do at this stage. I mean, the closest to us is perhaps Omnisphere, where you can layer things up, but we've got an extra step and we can do a lot more than they can. So but it boils down to the choice of samples, or do you like the voicing of the artist that has made the sounds? It's all about that, really. It's just like listening to your favorite record on Spotify or whatever, you know. It's not for everybody, but there's always a common ground of what people like the most. So that's hopefully answered your question on that one. Okay, now let's crack on with something. So I now currently have a lawnmower sample as our first sample into creating this patch. I've got no idea, by the way, what I'm going to actually do. I'm just going to show you sounds and how we make things out of nothing, essentially. So this could either be a disaster completely or something genius, so I don't know yet. So what I do know is the lawnmower is quite a repetitive kind of sound. It's like like this, which we don't necessarily want in a sound because it will get too much. So I'm thinking that we can turn this down to a drone. So, but the first thing I want is I don't want a normal sample that doesn't have a pitch to be pitched, right? So, and what do I mean by that? Well, if I play high up in the keyboard, then it's an F1 car. If I play low down, then it sounds like a tractor. So I don't want that inconsistency, because it would be very, very difficult to kind of manage over, you know, certain things. So I want this to be an ambient sound within the entirety of the sound. So what I'll do is I will click this little button here on the engine, and this shows the waveform. And this time I'm going to turn pitch track off, so it always plays at the key that the sample was recorded at, right? Which is what I want, realistically. However, I do still want it lower, but I want it to remain consistent across the whole entire keyboard, and I don't want it to keep on re-triggering itself. So turning on this guy here, turning off pitch track, basically allows me to now play it across the whole keyboard on one note. So the next thing you always want to do after, you know, you've got the kind of relative sound that you're ready to start with, which in this case, all I've done is turn down the pitch, loaded the lawnmower, and it sounds like this so far, which is kind of nice. Then I always play with the filters, see what we can get out of that sound. Okay, now it sounds like a helicopter. Like legit, actually. Wow. You know, that's kind of impressive. Okay, so we can play with a filter for sure. So, you know, DL, but you don't have engineering experience to make synth sound shine. Thank you for being patient enough to answer my question. Thank you. You're welcome. I mean, that's what I'm here for. You know, it's an open stream and I'm an open person. I can obviously help anyone at any time. I'm not afraid to do so. So, and just to answer your question, you don't need to be an engineer in sound. The whole point why we made this synth is so that people like yourself can just jump on and do things quickly and effectively, you know. So, you know, if you listen in what I'm saying here throughout the stream and to show you how presets are made, you can apply those techniques to anything really. It's understanding the basic fundamentals of anything. You know, if a sound has too much bass, remove it. If it's got too much high end, remove it. You know, it's got to be a balanced sound that is musical, right? You don't need to have engineering. You don't need, it's like, you know, if you're trying to make a record and you haven't mixed the song, it's going to sound a bit weak and you know, a bit just weak in general. And that's what a mixing engineer does. They turn that record into something that's ready for the outside world. And so with a synth, you can obviously only go so far to that because there is no, in my opinion, and this is just marketing speak, there is no word that is record ready, right? Because it's all fake. At the end of the day is what works for me in my system with my headphones on, with my ears and my Neve console here, that's what I'm hearing. So it's right for me. But if I publish a mix of music that sounds amazing here and I give it to you, it's going to sound different. And so you need to cater that for your own self, right? And so you can only ever listen to people so far before it becomes, you know, white noise, essentially. But having said that, there are still some pointers that I can give you, so which I will be getting to shortly. So, and one of those, critically, is EQ. Now, EQ is the most important thing of all, right? Next to a filter, especially in Horizen when you're dealing with sounds. So this sound we got right now going on, the lawnmower. So if we turn this into a drone, so let's take the filter down, apply the res a little bit, just to have a little peak. You know, and it's there, but it's still got some high frequencies in there because of the way the filter is. So if we enable the EQ now, right? And generally to drones, you've got a low hump in the bottom end. To compensate that, I'll take a little bit of lower mids out. You know, and there we go. We got a nice kind of low kind of drone sound going on. Now, the problem straight away is, if you haven't already gathered, is that the sound is loud and it goes very, very quietly. So, and we can see that by the waveform here. See here, it's loud, not so loud. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose, so a section, let's say here, I think, to maybe this bit over here. So we're not getting so much inconsistency in the sound. And I'm going to put on random reverse so it can sometimes kind of, you know, go backwards and forwards. So now it will start at this point here where I've just dragged it to. And then it will come back again. Yeah, there, okay. I mean, I'm not too worried about the jump yet because we'll be using the AHDSR in a little while. So I just want consistency at this point. Like any sound, you always want consistency realistically. So, and then there we go. Next time I press it, it goes backwards. So next time I press it again, it goes forwards. So you get this ping pong thing. Again, it can work wonders in different sounds. So let's just use this little bit for now. And then now I want to, at the moment, if I press it, it just cuts off. I don't really want that for an ambient sound. So first thing I always do, just whack up the release quite a long way. So then it kind of fades off naturally. So if you're playing something slow, you can then lift off and then play something else and the sound continues. Again, consistency, you know. So you know, and it's really good that way. So right, looking at chat now. Yes, that's brilliant. How to time stretch a sample in order to change the pitch across the WB4 NHX. Thank you very much for the subscription. Do appreciate you so much. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, by the way, so you know when I'm streaming next. So change the pitch across the keyboard, but not change the speed of the sample playback. How to do that? Yeah. Okay. Well, there's loads of ways you can do that. Unfortunately, Horizen can't do that because we don't sync to the BPM with our loop players. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things that we do now currently. So, so we choose not to do that. But there are tons of ways to do it. One easy method to tell you is if you have, for example, Studio One, which is the DAW, and there's a free version of that, I do believe. I don't know. I stand corrected if there isn't. But that one has time-based built into the whole DAW, so you drag and drop the sample, put it to the BPM that you want it to be at, or the pitch you want it to be at, and just export it. Then you just do it like that, really. That's kind of the way I would do things, you know, realistically. I'm sure there's lots of programs out there that do it, but I don't ever need to worry about that myself personally. So yeah, anyway, we will carry on. Right, so now we've set the release. I'm going to set the attack a little bit so on the repeat when it comes back it's not so jumpy, you know. So I just want a little bit of self-relief there, you know, so it's a little bit more prettier. Now what else can we do with this one sound now we've got it loaded? Because at the moment it's just a drone. One thing I want to do is, it's still for me playing too fast, although we have gone down a whole entire octave with the pitch, so we can't go down too much more. So one quick tip is using the pitch control right here. We can now pitch it down a further octave. So I'm just simply going to just bring that to 0, which means another -12. And then we should have, oh sorry, I need to bring that up. There we go. So now it's running even lower, which is kind of nice. So yeah, that's more droney, I'd say. And when we put things on top of this, it'd be really nice, but it's still too a little bit clean. So I'm going to engage the FM engine and see whether this helps. The FM engine on own user samples can be such a good way to add something extra, you know, that you don't kind of know about. And this is a super fun thing to try. If you own Horizen, just give it a go. So I don't know, let's choose, I'll start off with Saw, why not, and then I'll mess around with it and see what happens. Yeah, so it's added a little bit of grit right now. What about noise? Yeah. So you can kind of hear that white noise above it if I turn it off. So it's not there. So I kind of like that as it is. It's subtle, but it kind of gives a bit of air to it. Although we've taken the filter off, now it's given us a little bit back, which is nice. The other thing I want to do is play with unison. Now, the unison on user samples works very differently to that of unison on synth voices, and here's why. See, a unison spreads out the voices like in a stereo kind of width, and then plays them simultaneously, albeit slightly out of tune with one another if you're using the detune knob. But with a user sample, it takes the sample at different notes across the keyboard, and it plays them all at a different start point, right? So with user samples that aren't synced, you get this kind of almost self-delay effect, which is incredible. This sound isn't the best example for that, but later on I'll show you what that can do to really enhance things like bells or single one-shot stuff that is just incredible. So I'm just going to add some width to this sound. just by detuning it slightly and adding a couple of unison voices for it. So you should notice a little bit of width now and separation. Yeah, so now it's ultra stereo. And now there's 3 of that lawnmower now running around. Now bearing in mind, this is a lawnmower sound that we started with. We started here. You know, so... And now we're already at this point. And so we've already got into the drone category. You know, it's now making something like this familiar to work with other things. So typically for myself, this is my own opinion, if I'm using loop stuff, I tend not to put any effects on them because I want them raw, you know, because you don't really want tons of reverb on lots of things that are irrelevant, especially kind of just sound effect things, because it can ruin the sound of the song and it will be too artificial. So, you know, you want reverb on like actual musical notes so it can hit the reverb properly. So now, with that said, let's now go to the sampler and see if we can find something to work with that. So that certainly can self-modulate. So I'm going to look at the pad section. Now, obviously, this is the sample sound browser. So again, which is a similar thing to the preset browser, but this is for what do you call it? For the actual samplers themselves. So, you know. So, I don't know, I'm just going to pick one at random realistically. So, let me just solo this just so I know what I'm working with. Okay, I want something a bit more darker. No, too... Okay, that might be quite nice. Okay, that's nice. Let's try this and see. Right, now here's the first test, right? Don't forget, even ambient sounds have a note, right? So straight away, if I solo this with our lawnmower, it could be completely out of key, so we'll find out. Luckily for us, it's not. That sounds about right. Yeah, that's okay. That was lucky then. So if not though, I will show you how. So we have a little thing here called root note. So, and if you twiddle this, it basically adjusts the root note of the sample that you're using inside the loop engine. So you can kind of fine tune the tuning of the sample that you're using that way. So, so it's convenient for you. So that's all I would have done just to get it in tune, you know. So hopefully everyone's following so far. So now we've got the lawnmower drone sound that we had, and now we'll turn this one into a drone sound, but we'll kind of mess with it a little bit and we'll start adding some functions and things because this is musical. So we can do something nice with it. So to start off with, obviously it stops dead because we got no HDSR on, so we'll put some release on. Let's put some attack on. I know that I would already want that anyway. So that's fine. And I want to also just take down the octave just by 1 because I want it to be a deep drone. Don't forget we're building an ambient sound here, so you know. So yeah, already it's got that element to it. Now the problem is that I'm hearing right now is that we've got the low drone and then we've got the sample just directly on top of it. So they just kind of, everything's straight. So what I like to do is just a small amount of modulation by pitch shifting something. So it's something I pretty much do on most things that I like to do. So, and it gives a nice ambient flavor to something, you know. Again, this is a self thing. You can either like this or not. But in my case, I'm going to use So let me solo this so you can actually hear what's happening. So at the moment, I'm going to drag here LFO3 onto pitch 1. And then if we do the depth, at the moment it's following this curve. So it's just up and down, basically, right? So that's not what we want. Now, because this is obviously less and this is more, obviously. So in the middle, at 50% is natural pitch. So that's the same pitch as what the sample started at, right? So now if I put that in the middle, it's just going to basically do this, right? So I don't want that much modulation because it will start to sound jarring if you put too much into it. So we're talking of a 3% difference in pitch here at 47%. And you can just hear it, right? So maybe make it a little bit slower so it's a little bit eerie. You know what I mean? See, that's nice. It just gives a little tiny, honestly, a little detail goes a long way. And now we bring this back in. By the way, sorry, on the filter on this one, on this sound, I just want to take off some of the high end a little bit. And now I want to start putting a little bit of decay on this by adding some reverb. So we'll use Zen Verb on this one. Take down the early diffusion. We'll put the high cut up a little bit. Put the width up. And maybe, yeah, maybe we can add a little bit of modulation to the reverb. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, that's fine. Too much, so I'll back that off. Right, we're not going to really be playing it like a pad anyway, so because we're going with Atmos. Let me now bring in the other sound and then we can modulate it. So why doesn't it tell you the region that the root note is, root note value when it changes like C1 to B1, etc.? Deal, I can't answer that and I don't know why. But the root note that it works off, I do believe it's looking at the keyboard notes. So, because that's the way kind of code and MIDI works. It doesn't give you a note in that sense. So, like C1, for example, is 64, I do believe. Something like that. And so it works on the numbers of the range. So, obviously, then you just add 12 to that to give you the C2 and so on and so forth, right? So, yeah, anyway, right, so we've got our little ambient thing here. Let's now bring it back with the lawnmower. And so already we're getting something to kind of work. I mean, it's far from anything happening at the moment, but we're getting a note from the sampler to work with our loop player. So if I type in here now, drone, so that's labeled that, so I know which is what when I look at it later on. And then we're going to create something musical after this. So this one here is to do with the actual, you know, note itself. So that it seems like the lawnmower is triggering a sound, essentially, is what I was kind of hoping it to happen pretty much there. And that kind of works as expected, like I want. So one thing I want to do is lower the mid-range of this. And because we've got all the bottom end coming from the drone, which is the lawnmower, I can now, on that drone 1, I can now just do a high pass and take off the ultimate lows because we don't need it, because the other sound is doing that. So, you know, it's now just there in the background, you know, just kind of peeking itself out. And when we have something musical over the top of it, then that is just accomplishes everything all together. You know what I mean? It just is like, you got to think of it like cooking when you're doing sounds. You got to throw everything in the pot and then hope it turns out nice. And obviously as sound designers or preset designers, or if you're working on something for your own song, never ever feel frightened by anything, because honestly, it's not science. It is just based on if you like it or not, right? Because I've had a lot of people say to me, oh, you know, I'm giving up on sound design. I can't do this and I can't do that. But to be honest, you know, sound design is 90% experimentation, you know, so it really is. It's everything that you do in this business is just winging it, because you don't know. No one can ever tell you an outcome. So just keep on pushing it. And if you go too far, back up a little bit. And if you make a complete mess, it doesn't matter. It's experience. You know not to do that mistake again if that happens. So anyway, we will carry on. So what I think would be nice now is to have some kind of hit or something like that to resemble on note. So like we've got that big kind of lawnmower drone sound. So let's add now, we'll go into the sampler 2 and we'll find something like a hit of some kind. Let me just solo this so I know what I'm listening for. No. So that's quite nice. I like that first initial hit. Actually, I could potentially use that. Don't know. Okay, these are better. Let's use this one. I like that because it's got, I don't need to then edit it so much. So it's just a hit. Now, the problem with this is that with hits and big explosions, you can't have those multi-keyed across the keyboard because that would just be ridiculous. So, but there is again a way that we can do this to make it work with our synth. And so, and it's good and it's easy. So I do want it on the lower range, so that's fine. So first thing, I'm just going to add loader release because I don't want it just to stop dead because that would sound weird, you know. So so yeah, that's nice. Then I want to take off all that high end because I just want the low. This, don't forget, this is a drone sound. So, you know, so we want like a knocking sound to go with the bottom end of the lawnmower, right? So, and then we'll add some reverb because we've already got that. So that's not, actually I will take off the chorus off the reverb. Yeah, that's nice. Maybe a bit more frequency. Yeah, that's nice. Now, at the moment it's not very sensitive, so I'm going to turn up the V mod, which is here, which basically, that's our curve for how hard we want the sound to be. So I'm just going to turn it up so we have dynamics in the sound of sampler 2, our hit. See, like now I'm pressing softly. See, now we've got all those dynamics available to us. So, which is nice. So we'll add this to the soup and to see what that kind of does. But if you notice, now we've got this ugly thing of playing it up here, which is not really very attractive for a hit sound. It just wouldn't really do anything for us. So we're going to use this little guy right here saying the range knob. So if I press this, I can now choose my start note and end note. Now, again, this works with MIDI note numbers. So I want it to kind of finish around about there, which is around about 50 or so, which is C minus 1, I do believe. So, and then I'm going to click the fade. And what does the fade do? Well, it stops off at a certain note, and then the note gets less velocity as you go, so it's not just a dead stop, right? So it's strong here, and then it will... So it fades out all the way to the next available octave, which is great, which means you get a nice transition between them. So anyway, there's our hit now, and now if I play up high, it's not there. So let's now bring in that hit with the other things. And so far on hit, straight away we've got an atmospheric sound, you know, just by adding one simple thing. Okay, now the sound needs more. At the moment it's just low, so we want something musical. So we're going to add one or two things. Let's add some kind of weird sound effecty thing in the second loop engine, and then we'll add like a big pad or something to play big chords with it, to make it kind of theatrical and whatever it is you like. So you know, we've got the basis so far, so I'll label this as hit so I know what it is. So let's now go to the second loop player, and I'm sure I'll be able to find something random in here. Again, let me solo this. Let's actually use the tags here, and we'll choose one shots, because I know a lot of this stuff in here is just random. I'd prefer a kind of a loop of some. Let's choose texture loops. That's kind of nice. That's very fitting for the sound, actually, wasn't it? Am I being lucky today and literally just clicking on something and it's working? That never happens to me. I mean, you probably can't hear this, it's probably so low, but I'm going to go with the one I just had. Which one was it? Okay, this one. Yeah, I'm going to try this. Right, so... and this might be a good way to then demonstrate... actually, wait. What I'm going to do on this is... Because that sound is quite constant... I'm going to take off the pitch track again. But this time I don't want it when I play low. I only want it up on the high end. So this time I'm going to reverse what I did earlier and maybe start this around sort of middle of the keyboard. And maybe a bit less. Let's start it at 60. That would be kind of cool. Then I'm going to use the unison and see what happens if I do this. I don't know, let's put the unison up to 6 detune. See, now we've got a detuned version of the unison that's out of sync with it. That just sounds like a glorious thing, right? Oh, that's magnificent. Yeah, I like that a lot. So, and then we'll put some release onto it. Some attack. Now, this is where I want it interesting because if I go into the input... Actually, wait, before I do that. Okay, yeah. No, I'll save that for a different sound. But I do want to go into input anyway. And here's all the mod wheel assignments. I want to just put all those to 0. So the mod wheel doesn't do anything anymore. The pitch wheel, I'm sorry. So that works nicely for what comes after, which I've got in my mind. So now we've got this drone sound lawnmower, what we just random sample. We have the hit that creates the impact that we want on note. Don't forget these types of ambient sounds that people are creating for backdrops or movie scenes or whatever it is that they're creating them for. You're not playing it like a piano. You know what I mean? So you're playing it at moments, and so it's always slow before your next hit. So you never kind of mashing the keyboard like you would anything else. So that's the reason for that. So let's now see if that even works with our soup so far, and see where we are with that. So let me just tank this up a little bit more. I want it a bit further up. And then okay, it's good, but it changes pitch too often, right? So that's the reason. And this is what I was saying earlier on about the failing something. You know, if something really stands out to you, it's great, but try it. If it doesn't work, move on and find something else. So that's a bit too much, you know, over and over. So we'll try something else. What's this one? Oops. Okay. No. Interesting. That's interesting as well. Not quite what I'm going for. Okay, that's fire. Now that I like. See, now we've got to a stage where we're now... we can now literally just hold one key and have a scene. You know what I mean? So that's really nice. So we'll keep with that one, and I'll label this one bells because that's what it sounds like to me. So we've kind of got what we want. Now the hit here, this one, I want more decay from the reverb, which I've got. I've just cranked that a little bit, and then we'll just turn that down a little bit. Okay, good. Right, sample 3 will add a nice big juicy pad, I think, just to have some tonality before we move on. So, again, just it's always solo stuff when you're working on things, so... Okay, that's pretty. How much low end has the sound got? Okay, it's got some. So Okay, let's bring up the attack a little bit. Okay, we'll add the velocity to this one, and likewise to this. Actually, we'll add it to everything, including the bells and the lawnmower. Because now, now we'll see what it sounds like just in here before we add to it, or add anything to it, to the sound. So I'm pressing really lightly to give dynamics, and then we can bring things in, you know. But the thing is, now all of a sudden, because we've got this velocity added, it means that if we press really, really lightly, then we're still going to get like the original sound that we wanted, the lawnmower sound and the bells happening. And then we can then add that by hitting harder, and then we introduce other elements to the sound. So it becomes like an onion, many different layers. So playing really softly, so you can't hear the pad there, but you can hear, you know, if that's a scene of some kinds, in a score scene, you've got it already. And then in another scene, you can now have the pad working. You know, so... And then better still, you can say, okay, right, so this pad here is our pad, but it's just static. That's fine. So we can add LFO4 to that, bring that up, and then open up the filter, slow it down a little bit so that it kind of opens itself up, maybe not directly to max, maybe something like this. See, the filter's opening really, really slowly. We'll put a smooth on there so it's not such a hard drop. And then when we do it again now with all of them, so... Sorry, my bad. I should have put the end of this on. At the moment, it's going all the way across here, stopping and then going straight back. So realistically, what you needed to do was this. So that way it kind of makes it nicer, you know? Maybe a little bit more open. See, then what we can do is, as I like to call the stinger in the tail, is let's call this pad, right? Then for this one, I'm just going to choose a random sound. So let me solo this and I'll see what we can do with it, okay? So let's go to factory because I don't know what type of sound I want. So you know, that would do. It doesn't really matter. It's just a random sound I need. And this is always for testing. This doesn't always work. But you know, like when you're doing scoring, there's always these odd sounds every now and again that just kind of happens, right? And so And so we're going to make that happen, and we're going to put a delay onto this. So, oops, not there, here. Let's put a ping pong on this sound only. So let's make it quarter note and eighth notes. Put lots of feedback on it. So roll it off. I don't want too much top end. Maybe some more roll off. Okay, that's too high still. So what I'm going to do is use the EQ and the effects. Oops. And then just literally boost the highs. Sorry, boost the lows and cut the highs of the of that delay. Yeah, that's more like it. Maybe a bit more. Yeah, that's much better. Now I'll put the feedback up a little bit more. Now I'm going to turn this down all the way because I don't want it loud. And the whole point of here is, let me go to input so I can show you. So sample number 4, which is what we want. Now this is the one that we want to use the pitch wheel on, right? Because currently it's disabled, it's on 0, so it does nothing, right? But as you know, by oops, sorry, click on this button to unlock. As you know, watching lots of different films, right? That, you know, movie scenes and stuff like that, they always have these kind of, the stingers basically, that kind of do this type of thing, right? You know, you've seen them, you've heard them a million times. You know you have, right? So, and we're all about that. So on this little sound today that we created, using just stupid samples, we're now going to have this little thing here as well. So, but at the moment, that's set across the whole entire keyboard, which I don't want. I just want that little thing just to appear wherever I want it to be. So I'm just going to just crank it all the way up to the top, up here. So it only is on the top like 4 notes, so I can have that cinematic kind of thing if I want it. And this is what I mean. So far, you know, we've got the we've got this pad thing going on. Or we have the drone by itself. I'm going to just turn down those bells a little bit. I should take off the high end a little bit as well. It's just a little bit gnarly right now. It's all about tweaking. And then... Right, good. Okay, so we've got the pad and this. And if we want that little stinger to arrive, then... I mean, it's too loud right now, but you get the idea, right? So, you know, these are just ideas that I'm throwing out here at the moment. So we just turn it down. We'll also put the velocity on there so that we want something to kind of, you know... Yeah, one thing to do exactly that, DL. You know, it's like some people think that you need 59,000 different synths to do different things when really you don't. You can... A lot of the presets that we built in do tell their own stories completely. So, and everything is mapped out for you, so you can just enjoy what's on offer. So depending on how hard you press, you get a different sound. If you want to just to have a drone, you can have just a drone. But if you want the musical part, just play harder. And then play higher up on the keyboard, you'll have something different. You know, it's all cinematic sounds aren't just in a little box. You know, they can spread across everything and whatever. And, you know, depending on what you want and depending on what you're doing, of course, but, you know, it all helps. So, right. So we've got the kind of the rough ingredients that we kind of want to make a sound. Now, you know, all I've done is really just throw them together. I haven't applied any additional things or effects or anything like this. It's simply just added a couple of mods, simple stuff, and filter work, really. But that's how kind of easy it is just to come up with the base stuff. And then from here, it's a question of, okay, how do I want the sound to arrive? How do I want it to sound after the fact? Do I want something more? Do I want something less? Is it enough? Do I want, you know, this or that or whatever? And they're choices that I can't make for you. You can only make that for yourself. You know, and so you can start detracting things and then adding things to your own, changing over samples that aren't right, and so on and so forth. It's so flexible at this point that, you know, for example, on the bells, this little thing that we had earlier that we made, you know, then at the end, you know, you can have, what do we call it? You can have that, or you can change it to something else if you so want to. You know, let's do that now. Let's just choose something different, right? Oh, great. That's a really long decay, isn't it? So, yeah. Nice. So that's a droney sound. So, I don't know. Let's find something else. There you go. So in a second, I've just changed the sound and it still sounds good. And our pad that we did here, that could be smoother. So the transition's the same between these two. So let's go with a shape that's even. So I'm hoping that you'll kind of get the idea where I was going with that. It's like, it's all we're kind of doing realistically, just on recap, is we started off with this whole sound, this whole journey from a lawnmower. That's what we started with. And then we ended up with, you know, this kind of other drone right here. You know, that was the lawnmower. It's incredible that the difference. And realistically, all we did to this sound is use a bit of pitching on it. We lowered the octave. We added some FM just to kind of dirty the noise up a little bit to give some thing. We gave it some width. And we EQ'd it where we took out the lower mids but raised the bottom sub for that droning element. Then we started to add some random sound effects to that, like little bits and pieces. Just trinkets of information over the top, where we then used the range slider to make it start at a certain point on the keyboard so it's not always constant. Then we added separate notes just to kind of give a little bit of flavor. And then we added a pad so if you dug in like hard on the keyboard, a new sound would arrive. And then we added the last thing, which was the sampler at the top, which is just that little stinger thing, meow, the little dive bomb thing. So, you know, so it's interesting that you can just kind of come up with things like that, you know, and just to do things like that. I mean, And obviously from now you can literally just go here and say, right, you know what, I'm going to choose this sound instead, you know. And then we got a different pad sound completely. We'll even change the hit. Where's the hits? Here we'll put hit 4 on. The drone sound, we'll change that even. We'll put, I know, let's put another pad on here. I don't know, Free Mind. I'm just guessing at this point, not even listening to them, but you know, it kind of works really. So, and then that's our new sound that literally just created, right? Oh, so anyway, it is what it is in terms of that. So you just got to always think about it like a story kind of line, you know what I mean, in that sense. So hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully you can follow along creating your own sounds, you know, so it's nice and easy to do it that way. Okay, let me go now to the chat. So hello Demando, how to make ups. Okay, I'll show you how to make ups. Okay, I'll tell you what, let's have some fun with ups, okay? So let me go to init, make a new sound. Right. Just a saw wave. Okay. Let me okay, let me use the synths for this. So let me just, there we go, add just a bit of unison to this. What we'll do is we'll just put just a comfort verb on, because why not, just a little bit. Oops. No, actually, I'll keep it full. Turn off that as well. So I'll lower that a bit more. Okay, so we go into our ARPs, into our player, and this is really easy. I mean, obviously, you can now turn off single note tie, because we don't want that turned on. What we want to do is make sure that the sound is assigned to the right arpeggiated sequence. So right now, obviously, if you just go in here and turn it on, it won't work, because currently we're on synth 1, right, up here. So let's call this ARP 1, right? Oh, okay, ARP 11, that whatever. Sorry, I put an extra 1, but it doesn't matter. So we're on ARP 11. So it won't rename it here, by the way, so don't look for it here. It names it everywhere else, but just here there wasn't enough space, so we didn't. So we know that this is synth 1. So if we enable this, then ARP is now working. So, you know, let's change the octave. Put it to up and down mode. Let's make it 16 steps. And then the velocity, I don't know, you can... And then the note length. Right? So, we're talking of a really basic harp here, right? So, really basic. So, let's put the tempo up to 16. Let's get rid of that click. There we go. Let's just do this. Right, we'll make this one plus 12. This one, -12. Right? Okay. So, essentially, that is how you create an ARP. I know it's really, really easy, and then you just mess around with all these as you want. But I want to just show you one extra thing that I liked doing. Again, this doesn't always work, but I'm going to just try it here live on stream just to see what we can do with it. So I'm going to go to synth 2 now and engage. Oh, wait, actually, let's put source or what's the same settings as that? Yeah, okay. On this one, but we'll make it an octave higher. So this is what synth 2 will sound like. Okay, so it's using 2 saws, an octave higher than the first one. So now if we put them together, then obviously all we're going to do is have the same thing playing twice. Right, so now what I want to do in synth 2 is change the starting point of this one. So I'm now going to bring this up to 125 milliseconds. So now all of a sudden we're into this territory where we're getting this kind of polyrhythm. Let's take it another step further. Let's do it on this master effect actually. Let's now put a ping pong delay and we'll put it at double time. Yeah, that'll do. Right, so that will now chug along with the arpeggiator. So now if I play a chord, right, so we got this kind of backwards and forwards. Let's not stop there. Let's carry on going. So let's now, what's this one doing? Okay, that is just a square. So let's do -1 and 0 on this. Okay, that'll do for a sound. Let's go back to the player, put on synth 3, but this time on this one, not 125, we'll go 125. That's we want 300. 300. Right, so now we've got 3 sets of delays going on plus the actual delay, and if we now play those together, oops, sorry, that's on solo. Let me play it together now. Right, so as you can hear, it's starting to get a little bit kind of crazy, and just because we can, let's just make some noise because that's what it's about, right? So we'll choose this one, we'll go back to -1, -1, get rid of the problems. I need to do that on this one too, and then on this one we'll crank up the delay to 500. Also include that in our little we'll add some filter envelope to this as well. Get rid of the click. There we go. Round about there. Let's also do this same thing here. Okay. Then play them all together. So, and then we'll have some massive madness going on. So, as expected, I mean, they could be timed slightly better. So, you know, if you timed it based on the BPM, so there's math for that, and I can't remember what it is, so I guessed it and I'm slightly wrong, but that's okay. So, well, like this one's 125, this one is 300, and the other one is 500. So, I don't know which one's wrong, so let's just... So the ARP is kind of crazy in lots of ways. No worries, DL. Have a good day. Thanks for showing up. Do appreciate you. So that's the ARP in a nutshell. I mean, with the arpeggiators, also I'm going to show you actually this thing. While we got all this sound, you know what? I'm going to just go back to just using one for now. Otherwise, it will get too complicated. But we've got a pattern generator. So if I show you that, click on pattern generator, and what we can now do is say, right, okay, I've got 16 steps. The bar size is 4 steps. That's fine. The velocities, I can generate those randomly. The note lengths, I can also generate those randomly. And you know what? Let's have the minor scale over 1 octave. Generate. So it's generated for me just a random sequence. Don't like it? No problem. Click generate again. It's all random, right? But it's all in key and it all kind of works. You can change the format in which it generates. So there, and then it's like, right, I'm happy with that. And you can move things left and right. You know, if you wanted to scale things up equally. You know, just do some kind of cool stuff, essentially. And then if you're happy with that, like, right, you know what, I want to make it faster. You know, or whatever. And then you can just have some fun with it. And put the key on. So yeah, you just change filter. I mean, it's an arpeggiator. Realistically, every arpeggiator is pretty much the same, and this is R1. I do know that we might be introducing, although I don't want to confirm or deny, but I know that we are looking at particularly something different when it comes to the arpeggiator. So we're let's just say in future updates, we're going to look at this and do something much, much cooler with that. The tab chords is really cool. So this is more for if you not really a musician as sense. So for example, hold on a minute. Right, let me get rid of the arpeggiator. Right, so now what we'll do is, let me turn those all off. Let me go back to one sound again. Okay, all right, we're back on one sound. Right, the chords are, so if I enable this, no, I don't need to touch the keyboard now. So it's playing in E minor, C major, D major, whatever, right? Obviously I can change the octave for that, so let's go. So you can basically customize your chord sequence. So you'll select your root note that you're playing in with the key of the song. You can select different type of chord shapes that you'd want. You know, all from all the different algorithms you've got available to you. Choose your octave, whether you want it higher or lower. And then you can add your augmented notes. So for example, if you wanted the minus root note, which is obviously a negative down, then, you know, it will play that based on the one you've just done. So it's obviously based on key press. So if I press this one here, this is the one I'm working on, the E minor. So now if I put here plus root, then it's added that root note to it. That's obviously the key that's playing in, E minor. It just tells you there. So let's make this a sustained second note. Put this a second octave and add, we'll take away the second and then add a positive second. And there we go. So it's there. And then now, if I play low down on the keyboard, I can now just play it like a keyboard. So that was the odd chord that I created, but so yeah, they're all different at the moment, but if you get a selection there where they're all good, then it kind of works really nicely. But you can just create your own chord sequence to it, basically. So, you know, and just have some fun in that sense, realistically. It's a little bit of fiddling around, but if you're not musically minded at all, then it's convenient. You know what I mean? And the good thing is then you can kind of jam yourself. So you can, and then up the top here, I can play normally, you know? So you kind of get the best of both worlds in that sense. So that's what it's there for, realistically. Again, if you need to use that type of thing. So, hello there, Ghost. Yeah, no worries. I mean, I've just been showing people, I mean, I've done that now. I showed people just how to kind of use our loop players and our samples and stuff like that. So I wanted to keep this stream quite short because I want people to watch it back. So I've tried to kind of keep the general conversation as smooth as possible so people can, so it's not a really long video. I will be doing, however, I keep on saying this and don't because I never find the time. I'm so busy all of the time. But there's something coming up soon I'm working on, which is a, hold on, let me see if I can find it and I'll play it on stream. Hold on a minute. Where did I put it? I don't know where I copied it to, so it will be on here somewhere. Hello, Uwe Stark. How you doing, buddy? What is the V button on filter? Okay, I'll tell you what that is. That is automatic velocity, right? So we have this a few places. We have it on here. We also have it on the LFO window. And we also have it on the virtual analog stuff on the, if you choose, I think it's the square. Yes, there we go, the square. So, well, let me show you, demonstrate what that does. So if you press the V, and if I now play really lightly, right? Then if I play heavier, you see it will automatically adjust to how I'm playing. So it will change the pulse width based on your own velocity. So if you wanted something to slightly change shape while you play, then you can press V. And this one does the same thing. You know, if you got FM turned on, then it will adjust the FM amount based on how hard you're playing. And the same on here as well. No problem. No problem. Okay, now let me find that song that I'm going to be giving away soon. Do we, just in the way of hands, do we have any Jar fans in the chat at all? Where on earth did I put it? On here. Yeah, Jim Jojar. Jean Jojar, I should say, I'm sorry. I'm just looking for it because I've moved everything around, so now I'm hopeless at finding something. So I thought it was on here, but apparently not. I can't remember what I called it even. Let me just find it. Can't be that hard to find. I say that and I can't find it, so. Okay, it's not on this drive then. Let me look at my other one. No. Oh yes, here it is. I found it. Do you use a custom template when you make music? Also, what's your favourite draw and why? I do use a template, yes. I use Studio One. Personally, I just think it's, I'm an ex-Pro Tools addict. So I've come from Pro Tools. As you can see in my camera, I have a huge Neve console in front of me. And so I'm, you know, because obviously I'm a studio producer and we record bands here all the time. And obviously I'm doing my own music. So I want something to work with my analog desk, and so Pro Tools used to work flawlessly because it was like an inline mixer, the same as what a console is. Studio One for me is the same, except for Studio One is a lot more modern and faster flowing. And so everything just is sped up my workflow massively. So, so yeah, basically it is. I mean, I would love to, my template in Studio One is so big and it's so advanced that it does everything for me. But because this is a Synth Factory stream, it's probably not right to do that. I might do that on another channel of mine, in my own studio channel, Orange Tree Studios, at some point. So, because I've been wanting to show that off for a long time, because I've spent years doing it, and it's quite marvelous. Okay, so going back to the Jean-Michel Jarre thing, right? I'm going to play you a little bit of his music. Well, not his music, my music, that I created when I did 2.6. Sorry, that sounded really wrong. When 2.6 was available to me, after Lyndon had coded it all and done all the problems, and I was giving it a test run, I wanted to put it through its paces. And the last time I did a stream, there were a lot of Jean-Michel Jarre fans in the chat saying, oh, can our synth do his sounds? So I thought, And then I had a lot of emails asking if I could demonstrate or make lots of Jarre-based sounds. So, so I thought, you know what? Why don't I just write a track like Jean-Michel Jarre? Now, that sounds easier than it sounds, because Jean-Michel Jarre is an incredible musician, and it's so difficult to sound like him without relatively copying him. So, you know, it is what it is. So it's very, 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 very difficult to do. But I'm going to blast it. Now, this track is what I'm trying to do a video on separately, not streamed video, but a proper video, where I'll be giving this track away and people can work on it. It's not a finished song, it's just more like a collaboration of ideas and me paying homage to the great legend himself. I hope this is the right song. Yeah, this is it. So everything you hear is done with Horizen. The whole track. It's not mixed, it's just written as it is. All the sound effects, everything like that. Obviously it's ripping him off, but I don't care about that. Now, that's all I'm going to play right now. It's not finished. I'm trying to finish this off, and then I can then, there's still a few synths to do in there and blah, 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 but you've just had a really early taster of it. I think that would be really good when it's all finished. And then I'm going to give it away. I'm going to give the presets away. I'm going to give the song away so people can just get it. Who's got Horizen, just load it up and just see what was involved in creating a proper song. I'm not going to mix it or anything, because that's not the point. You know what I mean? We don't talk about mixing stuff on here. This is we're at a synth-based level. This is before mixing's even taken place. So, you know, nothing's ever going to sound super polished like a real record. So everything has to start somewhere. you know, and we're lucky enough as musicians to be in that stage right now when we're working with synths, so that you can sit down and play and enjoy yourself and feel the inspiration. I think that is more key than anything else. And so, you know, too many people try and run before they can walk, and they try and get a record ready sound straight away, and then it doesn't work because they haven't put it all together. And it's so, you know, we're at the synth stage, and that's where we should be, in the raw stage, you know, and it's the fun part, as I like to call it. You know, this is the bit where we all be creative and make noise and press buttons and go, wow, you know, feel like we're little kids in a toy shop. You know, that's what I like, and to me that's important. And so and if we can make it sound relatively like what we want, and it's good in raw format, then later on it's going to sound incredible, you know. So so there's a lot to be said about starting from scratch and making good things happen. So, you know, it is what it is. And Dimondo, no, I do not sell my templates. I'll happily give it to you for free. I don't mind. It's just I don't sell templates. I think it's wrong of people to do so. So, but the problem is with my template is, on my template are 59,000 million different styles of plugins that work with my desk and my hardware, and it's all to do with outputs and things like that, because I've got 36 outputs, and the chances are you won't have 36 outputs, so you probably won't be able to use it properly. But I was going to showcase it just purely just to show people how to do like a proper template to save their time and make everything happen for them. But yeah, it just wouldn't work for anyone else in its current state. So, okay, boys and girls, look, you know, I've come on today and I've created everything that I said I would. So I do want to keep this video relatively short. So after this video is done, by all means, leave a comment what you would like to see next of a stream that I will do, and I'll happily help anyone with anything. So just basically leave a comment of what you would like to know next. And I'll happily think about making a video for it. And just to wrap up, thanks to everyone for watching back and supporting Horizen and us as a development team. There is currently a big sale going on over at Traction's website, so head on over there now and you get, I think, 40% off or something. So for those that are sitting on the fence, honestly, do give Horizen a try. You won't be sorry. It is a world-class synth, and one that you will be able to be creative with for many, many years. And if you do want to hit the like and subscribe button, then please do so, because it does help me out and helps our channel grow a little bit, which helps give exposure to Horizen, which then makes us want to develop more and more. So, you know, it's a big lonely world out there, so we all need friends. So especially us, because we're so new to all this. So, and hit the bell icon so next time I'm streaming it shows up and you guys are aware, and we can all have some fun. So but for now, have a great evening. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Do take care and stay well and look after one another.